Hello, my cupcakes. It's Pancake here, and today I just wanted to talk about what I would say is my sexual and romantic identity. I think it's important, especially right now, since it is, Disability Pride Month, that I kind of went over what mine were, just because they do have a large part to do with my mental conditions and my disabilities. And it's been a long time coming for me to really recognize and realize what that is. So I just wanted to share, I identify as Nebularomantic and Nebulasexual. And what that means is that due to my neurodivergence, I am either unable to or really struggle to identify the difference between platonic, romantic, and sexual feelings. And I think that it's a really important concept for me when I finally realized what it was, to be able to break it down, right? For me, my OCD gives me a lot of trouble because of the intrusive thoughts and, obsessions. And I also have a lot of issues understanding, like, context between people, or like social cues. Those things are very difficult for me to interpret. And I realized for a very long time, I always thought that, I needed to go with what my gut feeling was. And that is not necessarily like incorrect, but I've realized that for me, my therapist and I talked about it, and a big part of it, I believe, is that I need an extended amount of time. I need an extended period of time in which I process what my feelings actually are for someone. So when I first meet somebody, I may feel all three things: platonic, sexual, romantic feelings for somebody, but I don't actually feel those things. My body and my mind are trying to prepare for whatever eventuality is. So those thoughts kind of like, it's like I am taking pasta noodles and throwing them to the wall to see which one sticks. And it has caused me a lot of trouble because I have gotten myself into positions where, turns out, I didn't have the feelings that were being interpreted, or the thoughts that I thought I had in the beginning. And I think it's important to discuss, because for some people, there is more of a need that is different than just whether or not you're like attracted to something in some way. For me, I do struggle a lot, and it's hard because at first, when I was researching this identity, I read a lot where it was saying that, like, you are unable to distinguish those feelings, or unable to feel those feelings. And I for sure have felt those things. I know what it's like to have platonic feelings, what it's like to have sexual feelings, what it's like to have romantic feelings. I just can't tell when those moments truly are. So for me, everything has to be that thought out choice. And it is very important that people understand that this is not some kind of like LGBT stuff. It's all a part of the umbrella. For me, and for, I'm assuming, a lot of other people, it is just a different process. It does take time to understand what those thoughts and feelings are, because our brains are not wired the same way, and therefore we have to take in the stimuli and the thoughts in differently. I think it's been really hard because in my life, the way society kind of shows you what romantic feelings are, or what platonic feelings are, any of those things, there are expectations to what those are supposed to be. And a lot of times those things aren't even indicative of what is actually happening. Like, for example, there was a long time where I thought hugging was only something that you could do with somebody that you felt romantically or familially inclined. very specifically, like only my immediate family. And I didn't even hug my immediate family for a very long time. So it's important also to break down the expectations put on us and the way society has told us that romance is supposed to be, has told us that sexual feelings are supposed to be. There is too much that is based on what people teach us and not based on what is actually happening and what we are feeling inside of our bodies. So I just wanted to make sure, that I shared this story. If you feel like this is something that you resonate with, I really genuinely implore you to kind of explore and see if this is something that helps you. For me, it was so freeing to be able to recognize that I wasn't just this object, I suppose, that was meant to be pleasurable to other people. I felt like my sexual and romantic identity was chosen for me and that I wasn't really choosing it myself. A large part of that is not even feeling in control of my own body and actions. And the truth of the matter is that's not how it was at all. It was just that my body, my mind are reacting in the moment, but in the moment I have those conditions that cause several different breakdowns that I have to process, but because it takes me that time to process, I find that it was just so difficult. I would be around people where I was expected to feel sexual feelings for or romantic feelings for, and I would realize weeks later I never felt that way. I didn't feel that way. I just got caught up in the moment. I just got caught up in what a lot of times are the other person's feelings. I got caught up a lot in other people's feelings for me. I noticed for me, I am a very empathetic person. I do experience the emotions that other people do because I genuinely want to share that, I guess, because when you understand yourself, you can give better anything to somebody else. So unintentionally, I was allowing other people's thoughts and feelings to kind of affect me. And I don't mean this intentionally, but a lot of times those people led me into pathways that put me in really precarious situations. And those situations, a lot of them I do regret. And I think that's unfortunate because I want to be the most genuine, honest, understanding person. And I want to be the kind of person that can have that conversation with somebody. But it's hard when I feel like I'm getting put in positions. Being able to identify as Nebularomantic or Nebulasexual for me makes it so that other people are aware. I don't care what gender you are. For me, none of that kind of stuff is what matters. For me, it's just that I have to process those feelings. I cannot just expect or assume whatever thought or feeling I'm having in the moment because of all the other things that are going on in my head. I could be having an obsessive episode. I could be having a intrusive thought that makes me feel like I can't be close to people, or if I'm not close to somebody, that bad things are going to happen. I've also had issues where I've interpreted somebody's actions towards me as romantic, and I will stop talking to that person because that's not what I'm interested in, or vice versa. Somebody will feel like I'm doing that to them, and genuinely that's not what I'm trying to do. So it's important to kind of learn and express that people experience things differently, and for me that is the important part, is that I have to process it. There's too much going on in my mind at all times that it doesn't make me comfortable to make those strong decisions right away. sometimes it's hard because everybody wants to say, like, oh, you need to live in the moment, and these are true things, but living in the moment can also mean me getting caught up in hypomanic episodes. It could be in a depressive episode can cause things for me. There are just, I continue to harp on this. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it definitely is complicated. And for me, my disabilities and my sexual and romantic identities are intertwined. And that is the importance, I guess, of this label. It is considered a micro label, so it's not necessarily completely popular. I think it's very complex because a gender, a sexual or romantic identity, those things are things that have to build from one place. If I hadn't found that identity and realized that that's what I felt like, I would have continued identifying as bisexual when realistically that's not how it is. I may have those thoughts in my head, but any time that I've had any kind of like practical application time, like a time for application to that, I didn't feel that way. I couldn't remove myself from the friendships or the, like, I like to call it like mom mode. Like, it's very difficult to take that into consideration when, you know, it's just, things are different sometimes. I do want to mention that this specific identity, Nebulasexual, Nebularomantic, this is only for people who are neurodivergent, and I'm normally not about limiting anything, but it is important, it is like very important that this is identified as an association with a disability and not an association with just the general feelings, because there is an identity that is equal, but not because of your neurodivergencies. It is quo-sexual or WTF sexual, and those things, it is a very poignant thing that's actually, I got pointed into that direction because of that. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because certain things, it is very, very, very important to recognize, hey, this is something that is defined by neurodivergence. And without being able to have that identification, without being able to have words, which I've talked about before, words, language, to have that, I may not have realized myself that I'm not just like this mindless person who is a slave to my feelings. And that sounds really extreme, but that's how I view it. It's pretty intense. But I hope that hearing about this has helped at least someone, even if this is not something you identify with. I hope that at the very least you learned something, and I hope that this has given you maybe some things to ponder, some things to question, because our realities are shaped by the other people we see, the other people we talk to, and we should always continuously be trying to learn more. We should always be continuously trying to, I don't like the term bettering yourself, but reevaluating your feelings, making sure that you are identifying with the values that you want to push forward, that you are on the inside. So, thank you for hearing me out, listening to me. I hope that you have a really good day, and thank you so much. Bye!